How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's new Frankenstein movie, which came out before Halloween in select theaters. Interestingly enough, the theater that I usually see my movies at it came out the weekend after Halloween last weekend, but I got a chance to see it in theaters before it hit Netflix, which I think it hits Netflix tomorrow. So this movie, as I said, was directed by Guillermo del Toro, stars Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi. Sorry if I mispronounced that last name, Mia Goth, and this is del Toro's adaptation of Frankenstein based off the novel from Mary Shelley. And there have been many Frankenstein movies, many different takes on Frankenstein throughout the years. I actually did a review on Young Frankenstein, the comedic take on Frankenstein last year that was directed by Mel Brooks and starred Gene Wilder. I'll put the link down below if you want to check that out. I did that for last Halloween. But this is more in line, or at least has more themes that feel similar to that of the actual novel of Frankenstein, as well as the 1994 movie that starred Kenneth Branagh and Robert De Niro, which was a movie that I watched in senior year when I read Frankenstein. And I haven't seen the movie since then, but I remember I was kind of like, oh, this is very interesting. Not that I disliked it, but growing up watching the classic Frankenstein from the Universal Horror Monster stories as well as Young Frankenstein, I was kind of more used to that version of Frankenstein, not realizing what the director was going for at the time with the 1990s movie of making a more book accurate take on Frankenstein. And here there are definitely more book accurate themes in this movie. I think it was done better and it looked better, although it also has its own unique take. Because, with Frankenstein, it's the general story of this eccentric, intelligent scientist with an ego trying to recreate life, but it goes wrong and he creates this creature. But while the themes are still there, there's some notable differences as well. But I think what Guillermo del Toro does with this version is it feels more so that Dr. Frankenstein is more of a monster than the actual creature. And Oscar Isaac's performance as Dr. Frankenstein works so well. He captures that brilliance, that obsession, as well as that madness that's presented, as well as at times a bit of cruelty towards the monster. Like compared to the other versions of Dr. Frankenstein, this version of Dr. Frankenstein, not very kind to this monster. Like seriously, he's a jerk to this monster. It's like at times, like you can understand why the monster gets mad and wants to go after Dr. Frankenstein. And you can't help but want to root for the monster a few times. But I think what this movie also does very well with Victor Frankenstein is explore his upbringing, his childhood, how his mom's death traumatized him, his lack of relationship and closeness with his father, as well as even his relationship with his brother. I feel like one thing that I don't really see in other Frankenstein movies, and I haven't seen every Frankenstein movie, but at least the ones that I've watched, is that relationship with his brother. They're in that exploration of his childhood. So I think Del Toro really did a good job examining what made Victor Frankenstein the way that he is and exploring that theme of what does childhood trauma do to someone, or how does it affect someone, their upbringing, and their choices later in life, as well as who's the real monster, this creature that he creates, or Victor Frankenstein himself. Like he has these visions of this death angel a few times in the movie, and I thought that was really good cinematography and visual work. Which, yeah, the visuals and cinematography are excellent in this movie. Like Del Toro is excellent at these themes of monsters and gothic settings, gothic themes, horror themes. Like he does such a great job of doing that. But even though this is a Frankenstein movie, it doesn't feel like a horror movie. It's more so in that science fiction gothic realm, as well as happening in a specific period of time. In this case, it's the 1850s, because there's a war going on as well that in the background that does, play a little effect on the events that are happening. Jacob Araldi, once again, sorry if I mispronounced that last name, does a terrific job as the monster. And we've gotten some great monsters throughout the years, like Frankenstein monster performances throughout the years. This has to be one of my favorite performances. Here we see this monster. He doesn't, compared to other monsters, he's not as horrifying to look at. And if anything, this is one of the more sympathetic monsters we have seen on the big screen. Because, as I mentioned before, Dr. Frankenstein's not nice to him. So you can't help but feel sympathy for this monster. And he's shown genuine kindness to certain people. He helps out this family in the middle of the movie, befriends the blind man. We've seen that many times in Frankenstein movies, but I love the friendship between him and the blind man in this movie. Who, by the way, I didn't even realize that the guy that plays the blind man in this movie, he was Filch in the Harry Potter movies, but you couldn't tell because the costume and makeup design on him looks so good, where it's like I had to look up and be like, oh, that's who that is. And then like the character Elizabeth, his closeness with that character as well. Mia Goth as Elizabeth, they do something different with her here. She's with William Frankenstein, not Victor Frankenstein, but she also can't help but seem attached and connected to this creature. It does feel a little forced, the Elizabeth creature stuff, but at the same time, it also feels different from what we've usually seen, where she's horrified by this monster. Instead, she's sympathetic and cares for this monster and shows genuine kindness to the monster. And it just shows that, this monster creature isn't really a monster as long as you show kindness to him. If anything, it's really the people that wrong him that he gets violent towards. Victor Frankenstein, there's these group of wolves that do something in the middle of the movie that he viciously attacks. Um, when people go after him, he will go after them. But in general, it's more like this is one of the situations in a Frankenstein movie where the doctor feels more of a monster than the actual creature. By the way, warning: there is violence in this movie. The violence towards the human characters, it's fine. Violence towards the animals in the movie might be hard to watch, especially if you're an animal lover. But Mia Goth did very good in this movie as well. Christoph Waltz is also in this movie. He was very good as well. The way they capture the time period looks excellent, from the costumes to the events going on in the setting, works very well. There's also the movie split into a couple parts. You got the part where Victor Frankenstein tells his side of the story to this captain that saves him at the beginning of the movie. Because the movie starts similarly to the 1990s movie where he's in the Arctic and he's found, and the monster, like, he's hunting the monster's going after him. Dynamic is already happened, and he's telling his side of the story. Then the monster tells his side of the story. The way the monster looks is incredible as well. Again, it doesn't look too scary and too monstrous, but like he has that monstrous look that still scares a lot of people off. But yeah, the makeup design for the monster looks great as well. His height as well. I was surprised at how big that they made this monster. And for a movie that's around 2 hours and 30 minutes, it's exactly 2 hours and 29 minutes, but it's a 2.5 hour movie. It doesn't feel like it's length. The movie goes pretty smoothly. Like, yeah, I did mention it feels rushed, the Elizabeth creature relationship, but it's not like the movie feels rushed from the first, second, and third act. It feels like they take their time telling the story, from Victor Frankenstein's childhood to him deciding to create this monster, the creation of the monster going loose, monster going after Victor, and all this other stuff that's just happening. It feels like everything is handled very well for the story to be told. And I think for fans of the book, or even fans of other versions of Frankenstein, I think they're gonna like what they've seen. as someone who's watched many Frankenstein movies and read the original Frankenstein book, I like this take where it respects the source material while at the same time does something different that feels more unique. Because, if you're going to keep telling these stories of Dracula, Frankenstein, and other monster stories that have been written many years ago, that have been adapted onto the big screen for over 90 years, you always got to find a way to make something unique and different. Like, yeah, the general plot's got to stay in there, but add some changes to characters, try to tell like a different point of view from whether it's the monster's point of view or this specific character's point of view. You always got to find different ways, and Guillermo del Toro manages to do that, and it works very well for this movie. And I know this movie's coming out on Netflix. I don't know if it's gonna stop showing in theaters just because of that this weekend, but I'm glad I got to see it this weekend in theaters because this is a movie that I feel like has to be seen on the big screen. That should be seen on the big screen because it has big screen stakes. It has great cinematography. It looks so good visually, effects wise, and performances are excellent. And I hope that this movie does get some Oscar buzz. I don't know if it will. I mean, I thought Nosferatu last year should have gotten it, but it didn't. And I would like to see more of these kind of movies, these time period gothic monster movies, movies like Bram Stoker's Dracula, Nosferatu, and now this Frankenstein movie. And I know there's another Frankenstein movie. It was supposed to come out this year, but it's coming out next year where Christian Bale is going to play the monster. And I think that's supposed to be like some kind of musical comedy. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal's also directing it. Um, Not saying that movie has big shoes to fill, but I think for people going into that movie, don't expect it to be like this. I think that's going to be more of an entertaining movie, while this is telling a more serious, powerful story. But overall, with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, I'm glad I saw this on the big screen. I enjoyed the performances a lot. The monster looks incredible. Everything looks incredible about it. And I'm going to give this movie an A. This is definitely one of the better movies of the year. And even though I can't say, again, as I said, I can't consider this much of a horror movie, I feel like horror, gothic, these kind of movies, it's glad to see that they're doing so much better. From Nosferatu last year to, we had Sinners this year and Weapons, and now we got this movie. Um, I'm not gonna rank all the movies of 2025 at this moment, but I'll say this definitely is up there in my top five, and it's probably gonna be in my top 10 by the time this year ends. But yeah, what'd you think of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? Have you seen it? What'd you think about it? Did you watch it in theaters, or are you gonna wait to see it on Netflix? Personally, I think if you have an opportunity to see it in theaters, if you haven't already, you should go check it out in theaters. It's worth watching in theaters. But if not, and you have Netflix, go check it out on Netflix. It comes out on Netflix tomorrow. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that loves Frankenstein movies, that enjoys monster gothic movies. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.